Alright everyone, Oleg here, and guess what? I'm actually on time for once. So, welcome to the show. And I got a lot of great stuff for you today, and stick around, and let's get started though. Let's get right to it, shall we? Let me transition real quick here. Alright, so, let me just send out a greeting to everyone that's coming to the chat, and then let's look at some of the videos that we have. And let's go to my channel. Okay, we go into videos, and just a couple of things I wanted to touch on first. Alright, so we were talking about exercises and edges last time. Let's go back into the stroking here. Okay, so this is an interesting exercise, and I haven't brought this up in a while, but this is for people, and especially children, when they don't have very good control of their upper body and they flop around a lot. I was taught this a while back, but basically what you can do here is you put a puck on your head. That's right, a puck. And then you do presses with the puck on your head. Let me just roll this back here. Now here's me doing stroking around the rink with the puck on my head for balance. Now this is something that will greatly improve your ability to press without constantly pitching forward. And you could also put pucks on your hands. But this exercise right here, the double press, the reason I wanted to show you this is I'm actually recording another video. Here I'm doing a backward double press and turning to a forward double press. So I'm making a similar video for you, and that's gonna be up later as well. So I'm just gonna, now in this case, this video is more about doing the double press, whereas the video that I'm gonna be doing is gonna be more talking about doing the presses backwards on without the puck. So you're gonna see that also later. This is based on what I was talking about yesterday, and I was trying to show you the exercise that I wanted, but I realized I don't have specifically one exactly like it. So we went ahead and recorded it today, and let's take a look here. Exactly like it. So we good. I was just checking to make sure that everything's working, that you're able to see the video that I was showing you. Let me go back to me here for a second. Okay, so let's get ahead and take a look at some of your comments. All right, now takes a couple of minutes to load, so while it loads I'll show you something else. This YouTube Studio, of what they've done is they've updated it. So there we go, finally it's got here, and it kind of slows things down a little bit, but it's got some nice features. I'm still figuring out all of the options and stuff like that they have. Okay, so Paul over here, she's thanking me for the broadcast. Oleg, yet another very nice live broadcast from you. Thank you very kindly. Thank you, Paula. And I'm going to give her a like and a thumbs up, and I'll comment to her later as well. And then now, yes, she writes, yes, I'm now a proud $10 monthly Patreon of Ice Dancer Oleg Altakov on Patreon, and you can be as well. He's awesome, provides great service. Well, that is too kind, Paul. You're doing my advertising for me. Thank you very much, and your support is definitely appreciated. So let's see what else she said here. Oleg, as always, you're fabulous and kind, because very few elite skaters and ice dancers will be willing to donate so much of their precious time without charging a ton of money to create so many wonderful and helpful videos and do live chats to help other figure skaters and ice dancers improve. These are high quality services you provide to us are invaluable. However, I will continue to financially contribute to you as often as I can. Thank you very kindly for all you do, and I so appreciate you. Wow, Paula, just thank you so much. Yeah, it means a lot. Okay, so let's see, and then let me take a look here. Okay, right, so I'm going to read the rest of the comments here. Okay, Anne writes, thank you for replying. I will have another look at the Twizzle videos and your comments about doing figures. You're probably right about this. A former Nationals figure skating champion said a problem with figures is that the dynamic is missing that you need in a dance or free skate program, but there is no doubt that moves in the field or figures practice make anyone's skating skills better. Let me get back to me here for a second. Okay, so basically what we were talking about, I had a question come up about figures, and then I talked about making potentially videos of figures in the future, but at this point, until I myself have a better grip on figures, like for instance, I could take the book and I could practice them, or you know, find someone, work with someone maybe. But the thing is, until I actually test and pass them and get judges' feedback, I wouldn't feel comfortable making videos about something so specific. So, and just as I talked about before, anytime I make a video that's outside of what I specifically train, I make sure that I get a professional that is comfortable in that zone, that knows a lot about it, work with me on it, meaning that they would give me the text that I would put into the video, and they would be the ones demonstrating, so in effect I would be a glorified translator. And that's what happens. So that's what would have to happen with figures. I would need to have someone that's that capable in order to do that. Now, in terms of moves in the field, I have tested and passed all of the moves in the field years ago, and I continue making videos of moves in the field. So the upcoming video is going to be the last of the juvenile moves. But meanwhile, let me show you something here. Okay, so let's get back to my website, istanceoleg.com. If you go to playlists, here we go here. We're going to go down to moves in the field. Now, adult moves in the field has all the same moves as regular moves in the field. So if you want to see all the ones recorded so far, you can go into my moves in the field playlist, and they are organized from senior down to pre-preliminary, and there's still some missing in the middle, so I have to finish off the juvenile and then do intermediate, novice, and junior. But if you go down here, alright, so there are some exercises that will be really good. Well, yesterday we looked at the edge work. That's very good for a warm-up, and then there's another one I wanted to show you here. Okay, so let me see here. Let's look at perimeter. Actually, yeah, let's do this. And I don't talk enough about perimeter stroking. This is the second video that I recorded, so it's a little dated, but let's take a look anyway, see how I did here. Okay. And so basically what you do is, this is perimeter stroking. This exercise is something that Ashley and I do every day, and that I did in the past with previous partners every day. What you do is you skate around, get a lot of speed here, watching it in slow motion, but you skate around and you get some speed. You come around to approximately where the hockey dots are, and then you stroke forward, and then you press, stroke again, rise, press, stroke again, rise, press, stroke again. Usually it's done in 4 strokes. It could sometimes be done in 2. It could be done in as many as 8 if you're still learning this and you want to develop the, you haven't yet developed the power necessary to really skate it out. But you want to stick to about 4 strokes, and you can do this with a partner, you can do this by yourself. There's also backward stroking, which I have yet to record, and it's not in moves in the field. I mean, there are other exercises that have the word stroking in them, but specifically perimeter stroking that's done backwards is something that I used to practice when I was in Canada. We would do 2 strokes back with crossovers, but I would eventually make a video of something similar, not necessarily the same thing, but something what we're seeing on here. And this is when you do this move in the field, you do it both directions. Notice that when you're going the other direction, you start your strokes, you switch feet. So when you start going counterclockwise, you typically stroke with the left foot first, left, right, progressive, and you start. And when you go clockwise, you go right, left, progressive, and start stroking. And so then you stroke around. So you get the idea here. Let's move on. Okay, so let's look at the chat, see what's going on in here. Let me see here. Alright, so let me switch on over so you can make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. I'm gonna quickly greet everyone in the chat right now. Helico, welcome back, and John B. Hello, John. And Student Loans Are Cool is here as well. Hello there. And so is Baba, and so is Kathy, Roman. Greetings to everyone. So let's see what you guys got going on. Okay, let me see here. John B writes, hi Oleg, these live are a great idea. Hope you get lots of support. I am an older male beginner, skating several years, but still have issues with keeping hip over heel, especially backwards. Okay, well, let me just switch over real quick. Alright, well, good news for you. Like I was talking earlier in the chat, you know, there's that exercise with the puck. You can look at that. However, I'm actually making the video even as we speak. I was working on it earlier today. We recorded it quickly at the rink. I mean, it only took a few minutes because that's a very basic exercise. So look forward to that. With any luck, I'm going to try to get it out tomorrow. I mean, my intention was to do the hydro blade exercises one and the last of the juvenile moves this week. I'm still intending to do the hydro blade because I already have that recorded. In terms of the moves, if I get a chance to record it on Friday then, and I'm happy with the recording, then yes. And otherwise, or in either case, maybe we'll manage to do all three before the weekend is over, but I expect to have out the double presses video, and even if it's not done, the backwards one on 2 feet, what I'm going to do is I'll just show you a clip in the stream, so be sure to tune in tomorrow, and then I can talk about it. Even if I don't have all the text and everything ready, I could still get my points across just like I do by analyzing those other videos. Alright, let's get back to the chat here. Okay, let's see here. No, let's see here. Okay, so a couple of quick questions in here in the chat. And by the way, I'm reading all of your comments, guys. I just want to make sure that I get your answers going here. Alright, so could it be that I'm pitching forward? Okay, you want to skate through your heels. I talk about this a lot in the videos. Pretty much in most videos that you watch, I'm going to mention it to some extent. You know, turn the ball to the foot, skate through the heel, or press through your heels. And I say it a lot. However, there's one specific video that I have that, let me see where I put it. Now, I think it's just in the general thing. So if you just go into I Stand Sir Oleg, I know exactly where it's at. You gotta go down. Not going too far. There it is. Okay. 5-point blade position exercise. This is something I came up with for a student of mine, and it's just something I kind of winged it out there, but I really like how it turned out as an exercise, and this is something to do, and it really helps you develop where you are on the blade to get an awareness. So let me just start this thing. Okay. So there are what I call 5 points. So you have, for instance, the toe picks. You have the ball of the foot about here. That correlates to the ball of your foot. Then you have the mid blade. Then you have the heel. This is where you start most of your skating. When I say skate through the heel, that means you're way back here and you're using your blade. But primarily your body weight is concentrated over this area right here. And then there are the back of your heels here, which you sometimes use, like Nikki and I did last year in our choreography. So it's one of those things. I'm not saying you should practice at that point, but it's something that you definitely end up using at some point. It's just, if you skate long enough, it's going to happen for some choreographer or another. So let's watch this. So right here, the way you want to practice this is you're holding onto the wall. That's important because I don't want you falling. And what you do is you feel where the blade is. And what I'm doing here is you start on the toe picks. You want to find out the actual toe picks. So exactly where they're at. And then I'm going to go on to describe what they're used for and all the things. And then I'm going to move on here in a second here. Jump ahead real quick. Okay. This right here, I'm talking about the ball of the foot right here. And you can watch the whole video. I'm just going to kind of skip ahead to keep things rolling. But you want to kind of shuffle your feet back and forth just to feel the point that you're on, because your blades are not perfectly flat. They have a curve to them, and so by doing this, you can kind of feel where you are on the curve. Now, well, this is what I'm saying is, all right, when you have skaters that skate and they're skating backwards and they hear a lot of snow, they're way up here, they're scratching their toe picks. That means they're really pressing here. That means the heel is going to be lifted off the ground completely. Like, you might have maybe a half an inch between the heel and the ice. And then there's other skaters who don't necessarily scrape the toe picks, but are way up in front. They're skating through the ball of the foot when they're backwards and forwards, and that means this is the run of your blade that you get to push with. That's it. If that's where you start, you go this way, because you're pushing off, you roll your foot off this way. So you get very little power compared to, say, starting here. You get all of that and all of that. And that takes time, though. So doing exercises like this, doing double presses, and really feeling where you are on the blade makes a big difference. Let's continue here. Okay, so yeah, this is what I'm getting at. Okay, this is the middle of the skate. Middle of the skate is primarily, like I was saying, you use the middle to the heel, this section through here. And then, let me go. Moving on here. Okay, and went too far. So then right here, I was talking about skating through the heel right there. And see how you can do that? When you move, when you shake your blade back and forth like that on the ice, you can kind of know which point you're over, because if you're on your heels, you won't be able to lift the front part, and you'll be able to swizzle it back and forth, or swivel it back and forth, I should say. So this is something that you can practice on your own. Remember, I'm holding onto the boards. Don't try this in the middle of the ice. I don't want you to fall down and get hurt. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's look at some more of your comments here. Okay, now. Alright, we have... Okay, and again, I read all your comments, but right now I want to get some of your questions here. Okay, Kathy Roman says, "Hi Oleg, greeting from Peru. I have a question about how many hours do you recommend to practice for a beginner? Thank you for all your videos, and this is such a great idea." All right, well, that's an interesting question, actually. All right, well, let's go story time here. So myself, how I became a skater. Now, some of you may know this, some of you may not, because I've mentioned in some videos. I did not start as a kid. I started when I was 18 years old, and what happened was I watched the 2002 Olympics, and I was inspired to do it, and I went on to start skating, basically. Hadn't skated before that point, and then on April 23rd, 2002, at 4:36 p.m., that's Pacific Standard Time, at Mountain View Ice Arena, I took to the ice for the very first time. So I consider it like my rebirth day, if you will. Anyways, so within, like, I don't know, maybe 3 to 6 weeks, I was skating 4 to 6 hours a day. And that's pretty much what I've kept at, because that's more or less what the pros train. Pros typically don't go any lower than 3 hours, and rarely more than 8. Although 8's very rare. Usually it's maybe like 3 to 5. Sometimes 6. It depends upon where you are in the season. It depends upon what you're working on, because as your intensity increases, your practice time decreases, and of course there's also off-ice conditioning and so forth. But here's the thing, look, skating has kind of taken over my life and has become my life, and that's kind of the thing. You have to decide how far do you want to go. Like, for instance, myself, I enjoy playing the violin. I'm not very good at it, but that's okay. I enjoy it. Do I set aside time for religiously like I do skating? No, because skating is my one and only priority. That's what I do. Everything else has to come second. Are you in that position? I don't know. You have to think about what's important in your life and then set aside whatever amount of time you want. The more time you could put into it, the better practice, the better results you're going to have. This goes with anything. And the other thing you're going to run into is when you first start off with anything, you're going to be able to pick up things very quickly, because when you're learning something that you've never done before, it's very easy to double your progress. In other words, let's say you've never skated before, right? You go, oh, whoa, now I'm on the ice for the first time, and then, oh, look, now I can swizzle for the first time, and then, oh, now I can lift one foot up for the first time, and before you know it, every day is something new, something magnificent, right? But those are low-hanging fruits. These are things that you can go and pick up pretty quickly, and then you're going to notice the law of diminishing returns, which basically goes like this. When you train and when you get better, it gets consistently harder to overcome yourself, to become better than what you were, to keep constantly improving because of how hard it is. So you put in more and more work, and you get better and better, but in progressively smaller and smaller increments. And that leads to a lot of frustration for a lot of skaters because they essentially plateau, where they have a run up and they get to a certain level, and then they're kind of like feel that they're stuck or progressing very slowly at this level. Everybody goes through this. Everybody plateaus at some point, and then eventually they either stay there or they find a way to break through to the next level, and then they plateau there, and then they find a way to break through to the next level, and then they plateau there, and it's an on and on and on and on and on. That's just the way it works. So the thing about it is, it depends on what you want. I mean, I'm not saying you should dedicate your life to it like I did. If that's what you want, you could do that, and hey, sky's the limit there. But then you would have to be training pretty much all the time, like I said, between 3 and 6 hours. If you just want to go out there and just be able to impress your friends, maybe just skating an hour, I don't know, an hour here, an hour there would be fine. But you have to understand that you're going to get to a point where there's things that you're going to have to keep practicing. For instance, when you first begin, right, you just know a couple of things that you're learning. You could practice them, and that's fine. But then you learn new things. But the thing is, these things that you learn, they don't go away. For instance, from the day I learned stroking, it never went away. I still have to practice. I still have to improve it. I gotta make it stronger. And the same with crossovers, the same with edges, the same with turns. And there's just dozens and dozens of things like that, which you can package in different ways and alternate them, but at the same time, they don't go away. You need these things or you don't have them. And that's another big thing that leads to a lot of frustration for skaters, is this other thing where they're like, okay, if a skater only works on things they really enjoy, then they're probably missing out on some of the most important things they got to do, because everyone has something they really don't like doing. And those are often the things that are the most boring, tedious, difficult, painful, but super duper important. And it's one of those things will not get better magically by themselves. I mean, in a sense, for instance, let's say a skater, we're just going to take a crazy example here. Okay, if you know what a 3-turn is, let's say a skater was never taught a 3-turn or forbidden from ever even attempting a 3-turn, but was taught all the other turns, right? Taught your rockers and your brackets and counters and whatnot. And then they could do all those, but were never taught to do a 3-turn or forbidden from doing a 3-turn. Could they, after being able to do rockers, counters, and brackets, be able to go and do a 3-turn? Well, of course they could. It wouldn't be difficult because they would have the necessary control. So sometimes when you work on one thing, it will carry over into other things. But there's other big things, especially early on, for instance, like backward skating, right? You want to be able to skate as well backwards as you do forwards. And what skaters often do is they maybe spend 1/10 of their time skating backwards or working on backwards technique, and then spend 90% of the time working on forwards technique. Well, then forwards technique becomes 10 times better, backwards technique stagnates, and it becomes, well, it's difficult to work on it and it's uncomfortable, so I don't work on it, and then I work on something else, that other stuff gets better. But it becomes this circle where if you don't work on it, it stagnates, and the more it stagnates, the less you want to do it, because how difficult and it's not progressing, and then that's when it becomes a problem. But like I said, these are things that you're going to have to work, and you're going to need time, and as much time as you can commit to skating, and also what your goals are. For those that just don't have the time, then you have to adjust your goals. You have to keep in mind that there's going to be a certain limit on what you could achieve, and that's okay. You don't have to necessarily achieve everything in skating, just as I don't have to achieve everything with the violin. And the important thing is you have fun. You do what you want to do. To answer your question, I would have to know what your goals are, how far you want to go, how far you're willing to sacrifice. Because let's face it, skating involves a lot of sacrifice. And I'm not just talking about money. involves a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And that goes with anything that's worthwhile. There's a lot of hard work involved if you want to achieve anything worthwhile. But at the same time, those are the things where you don't necessarily have to achieve something great. You just can do it and have fun. That's important too. All right, let's move on. I've rambled enough on that. Okay, so let me read another comment here. Let's switch this over real quick. Okay, so Alright. So, do you think you can do a video on freestyle skates? I suppose I could. I just would need a pair of freestyle blades if that's what you're getting at. So essentially what happens is a blade on a freestyle skate is going to be about an inch longer than than a dance blade. So it's maybe this much longer on the heel, and the toe picks will be bigger. And also there's variation between brands and so forth. Could you skate in freestyle skates and do dance? Yes. As a matter of fact, my dance partner Ashley, our first year together, this is our second year now, but our first year together, we had a break in between us with Nikki, and but long story short, she competed at nationals in freestyle blades, and early on, as I recall, I had freestyle blades because initially I was not a dancer. I didn't switch to dance. I switched pretty early on, but I did do some of my dance in freestyle blades. So yeah, you could definitely do that. Would I have something I can compare to in examples? I don't have any blades on hand that are freestyle blades. I could just show you the difference, but I can, as soon as I get a pair, or I come across friends I can borrow or something like that. That's an interesting idea. Anyway, let's move on. Student Rollins are cool writes, getting ice time is so rare, Kathy, and then I'm having trouble doing with the T-stop. Okay, we're going to look at those as well. So, let's go over here real quick. Alright, let's look. We'll go to the T-stop, and then we're going to answer here. So in terms of ice time, now this is a sore point for a lot of skaters, is getting quality ice time is difficult for some skaters, and I've been in that situation where you want to train, but the ice is just, there's not enough room, basically, or it's a very busy session, and it's hard, because if you don't have quality ice where you can move around, I mean, if you're like on a very busy public session, that's going to severely limit to what you can do as you get better. I mean, early on, there's all kinds of things you can do, and afterwards, though, the better you get, the more important it is to have quality ice. When I was in Canada, I would spend half my day in Canada and half my day in Bellingham, Washington. So what I would do is I would get up at like 4:30 in the morning. I would drive to Canada, be on the ice by 6:15, and then afterwards be back before noon. It's hard, but that's what I had to do in order to train. I don't know what to tell you, to be honest, but I will tell you one thing. My story, my experience is not unique. It's unique perhaps in the finer details, but in the broad strokes, it's pretty typical. Typical for ice dancers is they have to move around. They have to go where the coaches are, where the partner is, and it's just the way it is, unfortunately. I mean, or fortunately, I got to see some amazing places. I lived in a bunch of different places, so I've enjoyed my life as having to travel and so forth. By the way, this is really beautiful, so I'm just going to show you the opening shot here. Okay, this is actually in Rose Tree Park, and not far from my house in Media, Pennsylvania, where I live with my uncle and our dog, Wesley. So I just love this entrance through here, this walkway. It is just creepy and awesome, and it's just post-apocalyptic and whatnot. I don't know, it just speaks to me in so many layers. And just look at this, look at the burl on the tree digging right through it's going right through the fencing. The tree grew around it. So that's just incredible place. But let's move on, let's actually look at the video. Okay, having trouble with the T-stops. Now, first of all, let's look at this right here. Alright, notice that I'm actually stopping with my outside edge, not my inside edge. This is super important. If you try to drag your foot behind you using your inside edge, you can catch, in other words, if your blade is going this way instead of this way. Like, as you can see, I'm going this way with my blade, using my outside edge. If my blade was this way, I would be stopping with my inside edge, dragging it. You could tear this muscle right here, okay? And I know this because I had a friend who actually did that, and he was a pretty decent skater. I mean, he was like a novice or junior when he did it. And what I'm trying to say is that if you catch yourself, you could seriously damage. And myself, I've caught myself once, didn't seriously damage it, but yeah, it hurt. So you want to be smart how you stop. Now, when you're having trouble on it, don't just drop your foot down like a rock, because what's going to happen, you're just going to bounce, bounce, bounce. You have to keep 90% of your weight on the front foot and maybe 10% of your weight on the stopping foot. And then progressively go to 20%, 30%, and so forth. And then progressively apply pressure. That's going to gradually slow you down. That's how you initially learn how to do a T-stop. And then by doing that, you're going to be able to comfortably do it with sharpness and speed and whatnot. But let's just watch the video here. So here we go. And then press into it with your knees. This is important too. Now, you don't have to extend like I did there. But yeah, you want to press into your knees and also drive with your hips. As you stop, you want to make sure that you do not pitch forward. If you pitch forward, you will potentially fly forward. So here we go. Again, you do not have to extend like I do here, but you know, that's how you do the stop. And make sure you finish with a stop afterwards before taking off. So here, if you look at it right here, see how I gradually apply it, and also notice that I'm sitting back. This is important too. Now, it's because momentum is rushing me forward. My chest is being pushed forward with the momentum, but my feet are stopping me. So I'm being stopped this way while I'm still being pulled this way. So I want to go this way with my body, but I'm stopping this way. If I was like right here, and I tried to stop, I would tip over and I would lean forward, potentially fall forward. Now, I'm stopping here with enough speed to where I have to tilt back a bit, and I'm actually feeling like a cushion pushing me forward. The momentum, it feels like a cushion almost. If I was going really slow, now again, this isn't slow motion, but if I was actually skating slow, I wouldn't necessarily have to sit back this much, maybe just a little bit. But like I said, gradual high pressure, keep your axis, but make sure that you do not go forward with your shoulders, instead drive forward with your hips. Okay, now let's move on. But check out the video number 20, the T-stop, and it should help you as well. Okay, now. Okay, so Helico writes, is there a reason, do you know why backward stroking isn't part of moves in the field? All right. And well, there's a couple of things in terms of why it would or wouldn't be in there. First of all, I didn't write moves in the field, so I wouldn't actually be able to have a true answer. Well, I think the reason that it isn't in there specifically is because they have other exercises, and it's one of those things that you can just kind of take it and do it the other way if you felt like it. But let's take a look at what the videos are for moves in the field. Alright, so let's go back here. So in the very first move, pre-preliminary, we have our forward stroking. And if we go into preliminary, we have let me see here. There's a crossovers, but that's not what we're looking for here. Let me find it real quick. Okay. So there's a couple of good ones here. This one right here. Forward perimeter and backward perimeter power stroking. So the power stroking exercise is something like it in this one right here. Alternating backward crossovers to backward outside edges. So this, and I think that the reason why is you can more or less work out backward stroking, but most of backward edges are not done in straight lines. They're mostly done on edges, and so is mostly forwards, but stroking is just one of those essential parts that it's vital that you practice it forward. And it would be very good to practice it backward, but there are other things that you can do, like one of these two videos. But let's take a look real quick here. Okay, so we go here from the top. Right here. Okay, so. And this is gonna loop around to the next one. Okay, here we go. So just let's watch the video here. It basically consists of back crossovers and back pushes. And then again, back crossovers and back pushes. So this is a good exercise also for your back outside edges with speed and flow. This is one that I still continue to do in various forms. Not necessarily this one, but this is definitely a good one to practice. Now, something you're going to notice, this is a very important, and a lot of skaters miss this. Okay, so here's a question for you. You have a backward outside edge, right? And then whatever the next edge is, how do you get off of this backward outside edge? Well, and I should really make a detailed video on this, and I will, but I want to show you what happens. At the end of the backward outside edge, as you press, now I didn't do this as clearly in this part, but you flip to an inside edge for the press and push to the next part. So that enables you to get off of those back outside edges. And that same thing goes if you have a forward outside edge to another forward outside edge. See how I flipped it there? If you have two outside edges back to back, or front to front, and what happens is at the end of the first one, when you go to change feet, you flip your edge to an inside edge and you press and push off of that inside edge to the next outside edge. And I will make a video for sure showing you the details of that. Okay, so let's see here. This will help. Let's see here. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I helped you. Okay, Kevin writes, "Hi, can you give us a suggestion to do better spread eagles? I could barely keep the position while moving. I end up going backwards." Okay, so spread eagles. Yes, I should totally make a video on that just for spread eagles, and I will be doing that. What you can do, let me see if I have anything specifically that I can help you with right now. Let's take a look here. Maybe in Choctaws, just a second here. Actually, I know where. Okay, so this is with Ksenia and Oleg. We made a video a while back. Let's take a look here. And I haven't created a playlist for this yet, but I remember way back we did it. I just have to find which one it was. But I did a boards exercise. I just have to, and this was for Choctaws. And this is very good for turnout, and it also helps with spread eagles. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to stand against the boards, and you're going to be able to stretch. Let me just see where. Okay, so this probably this one right here. Right. All right, here we are. Okay, so let's take a look what I'm doing here. There we go. Okay. This is how you practice a spread eagle. You can do this on the wall. Now, what I'm doing here is I got my feet in a spread eagle position, and I've got my legs straightened out, and I'm pushing my hips against the wall. So what sometimes skaters do is they get in a spread eagle position, but they stick their butt way out. And instead, you want to push your hips forward because that's where you got to get the turnout in your hip flexors. It's super important to be able to hold this position. Now, what you could also do is you could stand on one foot and pull the other foot back. You could also do this if you lie down on the ground on a mat, for instance. You could bend your knees. You could do like sitting spread eagle, and then like a froggy. And again, I'm telling you instead of showing you, but let me, actually I can show you here in a minute here if we go through this. Now here I'm actually pulling myself back even further. This helps for turnout. This is going through the fifth position. You got toe to heel, and you want to keep them close. And the press is here. Again, this is about working the hip flexors. This is very good for Choctaws, but at the same time, this also works for spread eagles. And by practicing this, this gets you the turnout. Now, turnout isn't everything because you still need to have the control, but there we go. What happens is that as long as you have the turnout, you could more or less do a spread eagle, starting with your forward inside spread eagles and progressively work your way up to backward outside spread eagles. And I will be making a video on it. Actually, I'm going to be doing a lot more in terms of spread eagles. And the thing about it is, the reason I haven't really touched on it was because my spread eagle is one of those things. If you don't practice them, you're going to lose that kind of turnout. But in this season with Ashley and me, we have a spread eagle in a program which is an outside spread eagle. So that, and this is actually for a lift, I'm saying. But I'm going to be working on that, and I'll be making a video as my turnout improves so I can really demonstrate you some good exercises. But just doing the wall exercise and trying to hold that position in a straight line, that's where you can start off, or an inside edge, and then eventually you could work your way to the back outside. And I will be showing you all that. So, okay, and last question, and then I gotta wrap this up for today. Okay, so we have, hello Mo. Alright, we have how to skate backward and do backward crossovers for a total beginner. Okay, so this is an interesting question. Alright. So let's think about this for a minute here. It depends on a number of factors. First of all, how good is your backward gliding? If you can't glide backward on one foot, then I wouldn't attempt a backward crossover. Just saying, because you wouldn't have the necessary control to do that. And in terms of what you want to do is, you want to first develop your good edge control. If you have the edge control, you could pretty much do anything. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily know the technique, but once you see the technique, you'd be like, oh, okay, and then just go and do it. I mean, it's not actually that simple, but essentially what you want to do is, let me show you some exercises. If you go back here and we look at the second move. Now, this exercise, here we go. I'm just going to show you two exercises. Okay, I'm going to show you two exercises that really relate to this. And you see these a lot in my videos, and that's okay because these are super good exercises. Now, this is a more advanced one in the sense that, I mean, if you can do this, there's definitely no problems for you to be able to do a backward crossover. But just holding your foot and skating it around on a curve, or even in a circle. I mean, you can just glide in a circle and hold one foot, and then switch and do the other foot. So this is the back outside, and then let's take a look. Here we go. Let's see here. This is of the four of them, you have forward inside, forward outside, backward outside, backward inside, and so forth. So you have the four edges that you work through here. We're just going to watch this real quick. This is a good exercise, and it might be a little bit too advanced if you're not quite there, but this will give you an idea. This is called the Schaefer push, and that's another video that I've actually recorded. I just haven't made it yet. So I will be showing you how to do the Schaefer push as well. But that's an important one to be able to get going from a standstill for this move. So right here, we're just going to finish up watching this, and then we're going to move on to the next exercise for crossovers. Okay, and let's move on here. Okay, now. Alright, so right now what I'm looking for is, these are all, there we go. Okay. The basic backward edges exercise for control. This exercise, and again, you're probably going to hear me talk in almost every video about this, because every time someone says that they have a problem with a backward edge, this or variations of this exercise is what you want to practice. Let's take a look here. So right here, I'm doing a pretty advanced version of this. What I'm doing is I'm passing my leg back and forth while maintaining my presses and rises. You can do this as simply as just gliding. Let me show you here. Pump. And then what you can do is just hold yourself just in this position. Do a pump and hold it. Count for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pump again with the outer foot. hold the other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pump again. Other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just that. You don't have to do presses and rises, but just holding on the circle, that's going to get you the necessary control, and that's going to be the start of getting you ready for doing backward crossovers. Now, the other thing is, what you want to do is practice pumps on the circle. Just backward pumps on the circle. That's, again, I'm going to have to make you a video for this, but if you just do pumps, that's where you start off. And then progressively what you start doing is you start pumping, and then you want to feel the body weight transfer between feet and then pushing through underneath. And again, all this, it's, you know, show, don't tell. So just bear with me. I will come back and show you more detailed exercises. But let's, for the sake of it, let's look at some crossovers, some back crossovers, and then I can give you some parting ideas. Here we go. Alright, so we're going to go here. Alright, so here we go. Back crossovers. Now, like I said, I'm doing this here after, you know, I mean, I know how to do crossovers already, so it's one of those things that it's going to be a little different when you're first learning them. You're not going to get all these extensions, but that's okay. So you start doing pumps in a circle, and then progressively you want to feel as you press, and then you push through, and then you're pushing through with your heel. This part, everyone tends to start off when they first do it, they push off with their toe pick, they scratch their toe pick, and they get no power. You want to push with, you want to keep your body weight over the pushing foot. So as I'm driving through here, I'm trying to feel my body weight go through this foot. Only when it leaves do I transfer here. So there you go. And then there we go. You want to stay down and push through your hips. You want to maintain your axis. Make sure you do not lean away from you. Always look into the circle to see where you're going. I'm doing the exit now, but on the crossovers themselves. So, but like I said, I'll make a more simpler video where we can kind of break this down and take a look at it. And then I think there's one last thing. Let's see here. I'm gonna finish off the rest of your comments real quick here, and then I gotta get going. Okay, so Lily, in response to your question with the spread eagle, I feel like I'm going to break when I try this. LOL. Spread eagle against wall. Okay, so wait a minute here. Let me just make sure. Oh, hold on. I did not show you the crossovers. Let's go back and look at that real quick. So I'm going to play the back crossovers one more time, just as I could see myself here. I'm talking to myself and not showing you crossovers. So let's take a look here. Okay, so when we're doing crossovers, here we go. You want to pass your foot. You want to press. First you practice pumps, but then you're going to press passing and pushing through. Now, think of scooping, okay? Like you're going to scoop this foot across and through. And you want to scoop from the heel. See how I'm scooping here? Pushing through, pushing through, pushing through. And then as I do this, I transfer my body weight from the back foot to this new foot right here. And then not too soon, because if you don't, you're not going to get any power out of it. And then like, pick it up and lift it in and reach in, push through. All of this is dependent upon having good edges. And like I said, your first crossovers are not gonna look like that. I mean, they're just gonna be a lot more basic, and I'll make a more basic video. But let's go back in case that you missed it, in case I didn't show it, I should say. I wanted to show you the exercise that I want you to practice that's gonna make a difference. Let's see here. Losing my voice here, give me a second. Alright, here we go. Okay, so we're gonna watch this. This is an edges exercise, and you want to practice this and practice this well, because this is gonna make a big difference. You do not have to do all the stretches, but you do want to practice your edges forwards and backwards, and especially the backward ones. If you want to have good crossovers, you will need to have strong edges. You need to be able to glide on one foot and being able to control it. So here I'm going to show you how to do the backward ones real quick. But anyway, getting back to Lily's question, I'm just going to talk while we watch this because I already said what I was saying there. In terms of practicing your spread eagle, okay, your body will either work for you or work against you. And what you want to do is you want to train yourself that your body works for you. So for instance, there's a bunch of things you need as a skater. You need to have strength, you need agility, control, flexibility, and all these things you can practice off ice. If you don't have the time to practice them, unfortunately, you're going to have to make time because otherwise there's just things you will not be able to do, like the spread eagle, like I said myself. If I don't stretch for it, I'm not going to be able to do it. So it's one of those things. You don't necessarily have to go into a full split or whatever. You don't necessarily have to go on and hit fifth position, a clean fifth position against the wall. But start by stretching. You know, work your way through it. If you don't know how, you could always join a stretch class or find some stretching videos on YouTube. But primarily what you want to do is you want to feel like a good burn, but not like a tear, or, you know, like you don't want to damage yourself when you stretch. So be smart about what you do because, you know, it's very easy to hurt yourself. And if you don't know what you're doing, better to take a class somewhere just to get an idea. And the thing with stretches is once you see it, once you feel it, you understand what you got to do, and it's just doing it. And then progressively, you're going to get better turnout. It's what you apply yourself. If you work on that stuff, you'll have it. And it's not going to happen easily. It's going to take time. And the older you are, the harder it is to get these things. But they're not impossible. They're simply hard. So that's the thing to keep in mind. That's really a big takeaway on a lot of things is what you see, all of this is totally doable. And it's just hard. It takes time. All right, now, let me just see here if I cover that real quick. All right, so congratulations to Lily. Started at 41, about a year here. And then, let's see here. Okay, I just want to finish reading real quick what you guys said. Yeah, okay, and then crossovers, good. And then, good. All right, so last thing I wanted to share, we're just going to come on back. And then I'm just going to say a few final parting words. In the video, and again, because some of you might be joining at different moments, the video I always like to come back to, well, it's either the 4 edges we looked at or the other one. Let me show you real quick here. This one right here. This is for the backwards. It's going to make a big difference. There we go. Again, I talked about this earlier in this video, but I'll have a few parting words and we can just watch it. See how I'm practicing it on the wall? Now, it's the same thing. You can, if you're not sure what you're going to do, you can check yourself out if you want to practice the leg passes like this. You don't actually have to do the leg passes, but this is just the presses and rises. It's something you can do on the wall, something you can do off ice, something you can practice on ice, of course, I would prefer, but get your knees and ankles going, as I'm doing here. And then you can do this while gliding straight up, just like this. You can just hold that and just keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then switch. And then just pump with the outer foot. That's going to give you better edge control. If you can't do it in a circle, that's fine. Do it backwards in a straight line. And that video, like I said, expect to see it on Friday. Alright, so I hope you've learned something today and you really enjoyed it. And I really appreciate all of your kind words. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to send me a few bucks, you can do it via Patreon, or you could send it to me via GoFundMe. And the links are going to be in the video description. Again, I really enjoy doing this with you guys. My intention originally was to only maybe do 20-30 minutes, but as you could see, I just have too much fun, you know, talking to everyone and explaining these things. It's just, I just love skating and I love interacting with you guys. So let's keep going, and I will see you tomorrow.